Our next guest says the optimism of American entrepreneurship remains strong with a near record number of new business starts. But she also warns that free enterprise is under threat. U.S. Chamber of Commerce CEO Suzanne Clark joins us now. It is a big day, your State of American Business speech. How would you describe the state of American business right now?
Well, first of all, good morning. I'm excited to go give this speech and to give you a little sneak preview. So thank you for having me. Look, the state of American business is optimistic. I've been watching this morning as you talk about this new fund. You know, BlackRock didn't launch that because they were pessimistic. Nobody opens their business in the morning because they don't think customers are going to come in. People hire and make 5-year plans and acquire companies because they believe in the markets. They believe that they can be optimistic about their future. So every business person is optimistic, or they wouldn't be able to do their job.
I mean, yes, but we've seen in some surveys, small business, for instance, has been very pessimistic lately, and I don't know if it's politically motivated or the inflation problem that's still out there. It's not like we're seeing this mass confidence.
You know, it's so interesting, Sarah, because I think what we hear from small businesses all the time is they can be optimistic about their business and their ability to serve customers and hire and grow, but they are worried about the overall economy. In particular, right now, what our small businesses are telling us is they're continuing to worry about wage growth, the employee shortage, the pressure on labor, and what that means about their, being forced to continually keep up with these wage increases.
So that's still a bigger concern than, say, a demand fall off, the inflation piece of it?
Yes, definitely.
So why do you say under threat? What are you worried about specifically?
Yeah, I'm worried about a couple of things. I'm worried about academia. I'm worried about think tanks. I'm worried about a couple of really well-funded foundations that are coming out against capitalism. I worry about a small group of people on the left, a small group of people on the right who don't talk about being pro-business anymore or pro-growth. I mean, what's the opposite of free markets? Is that really what people are for? And we're seeing it in this administration. We're seeing a real ideological driven agenda in these regulatory agencies that's not about the economy. It's not about American business or American security. It's about advancing political agendas through these really political agendas, and it's a problem.
Although some would argue, I mean, if you're talking about industrial policy, some argue that it involves national security. I mean, reshoring chip production, which it results in a bunch of grants and picking winners and losers. But some argue that the intent is to bring security to technology in our supply chain. Does that make sense?
Look, what I'm talking about is some of the overreach that we're seeing in the competition in markets at some of the financial regulations, things that we've had to challenge in courts. It's not that there isn't a role for government in protecting national security. There isn't a role for government in setting conditions where markets can work and companies can be successful. It's the concern that when that slips into political agendas, we have to call it for what it is.
Is there something specific you're referring to?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're really seeing is all the work we're having to do in regulatory litigation, all the work we're having to do to figure out what the real goal of something that's delegated to an agency is. And when that authority is overreached, when they're moving into places they do not have the authority to work, that we have to challenge them in court and constrain their impact on markets and on business when they don't have the authority to do it. We just saw it, for example, in our suit with the SEC about the buyback rule, right? That the idea that they're going to regulate competition, that they're going to force companies to have to say to their competitors and in the market how they want to allocate capital. No one gave them the authority to do that, and it's why we challenged, and it's why we won.
In this administration, are your legal fights up from where they were in previous administrations?
Yes.
By
yes.
how much?
I don't know the percentage, but I would tell you that even just the briefs that we have to file, let alone the party litigation, has just been skyrocketing. And it's in part because we aren't seeing Congress step up and do their job. And that leaves the agencies with this wide berth. And so we end up having to take fights to the courts instead of having these things settled in the Congress in a bipartisan, lasting way, so that business has the certainty that it really wants and needs to continue to grow and to continue to hire. Like, we saw this with this Bitcoin decision, right? What are the rules of the road? We had filed a brief for this. We want clarity. We want to understand what the rules of the road are, so there's certainty, and we can provide products and services in the way that the American markets want.